So now with the intros out of the way, let's get this discussion started. I'll start with Jocelyn first. Jocelyn, what was your biggest community revelation from 2024?
Oh my goodness. I feel like it's not so much like a new discovery or like a brand new revelation. We're not changing the world here, but I do feel like 2024 has further emphasized the importance of that human aspect of community. So I always tell people like community isn't about, the platform or the tools. It's really about the people. And I feel like that's more and more important. As there's a lot going on with different social media platforms. There's a lot going on with AI, and it's all this talk about community. It's all this talk about like technology and how technology is changing how you work, how you talk, how you do all of these things. And so I feel like the most important thing at the end of the day is like it doesn't matter if you have the latest and hottest, fastest technology. Community really is about the people, and so if you focus on the people and really take care of your people, then that's really where the magic is.
I love that. That's so
Yeah,
important.
I second Jocelyn idea regarding connection. Try to be in my case. I feel that the big shift is that now we actually need to be better humans and listen even more. Now AI
Mm,
can do the recaps and the summaries for us, but relationships cannot be AI-fi, if we can use a
yeah,
word for it. That's why I feel that build relationships kind of openly and have a time to listen to your members is the key to
mm,
actually build better communities with all the noise of AI around. I feel that that is like the way to cut the noise and keep
yeah,
building, yeah, actually upbuilding communities.
love that. It's so funny because even as a community builder, I find you can tell when something is AI written. So it kind of loses that level of community building that we're all looking for, but I think sometimes we get into using AI and sometimes things get scheduled. It loses that kind of human component. So totally understand. Francisco, what are you most excited about in relation to 2025 community building?
Yeah, I think that in my side, I'm very, I don't know, I'm Latin guy. So for me, it's like I'm friendly by default. So I'm always like, even like in meetups, hugging and kissing in the good sense, everyone, right? But I feel
Yeah.
that human first uh, still be the big trend moving forward. Even though we have a few online events that like this that are really valuable regarding knowledge and connection, I feel that in person is now the thing. I feel that in our case, for instance, Led by Community has been running, even we did a very nice kind of initiative to celebrate the Community Manager Appreciation Day this month, well, last month of January. We ran
Mhm.
meetups in 19 cities in the world to kind of celebrate. So I feel that that was really meaningful for the industry. And I feel that the same for customer communities or others. They are the relevance of user groups being local, trying to get together in person, face to face, even though if these groups are small, is meaningful and moving forward. Like I feel that that will lead the way that brands
Yeah.
are going to lead the way regarding communities. And well, there are way more things to share, but I feel that other interesting bit, especially for communities that are kind of more like in support side of things, like Slack and things like that. AI is
Yeah.
helping a bit, but it's not the panacea of all issues. So I feel that
Yeah.
also we should consider AI as a partner, a helpful partner, but also with still these limitations, moving forward. I would say just use as a tool to kind of cross the chasm rather than like a tool to solve all the issues because it cannot. No.
Totally. Justin, what about you? Any predictions there?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of being excited for 2025, personally, I just started a new job yesterday, so super stoked about that. And then we also have,
Awesome.
thank you. We also have a lot of exciting things in store for the community, which is a community for senior community professionals. Things I can't share yet, but definitely keep your eyes out. So really excited for all of those things in 2025, more on, our personal note. But in 2025 for our like industry or practice at large, I'm definitely really curious to see how community building evolves with different automations and AI, kind of like how Francisco has already said, like, yes, we use it for recaps, we can use it for automations and things like that. And so technology can make community building a lot easier, and it can expand your horizons. It can expand who you can reach. Like just the fact that we can do webinars like this, it wasn't possible, 2 decades ago. We wouldn't be able to have folks from like Nigeria or all of these other places. And so I think there is a lot of value in technology, and I'm curious to see how community builders include AI in their regular workflows or even in new ways that will really make community building different or special. And then I also think that we'll see community teams working more hand in hand with more
Mm.
customer facing teams. So not just, community in a silo or just a support community or just a community of practice. I think you'll see community teams working more hand in hand with customer marketing, with customer success, with sales, with product to really build out like a comprehensive customer experience. So it's not just, community as a silo, but it is a full customer experience where community is a big part of it, but not the only part.
Yeah, totally. And I am seeing in the chat already, you guys are getting a ton of yes and amens to some of what you've been mentioning, avoiding the tech walls and, avoiding AI just as in some cases, our members may not be as trusting of it. So it's really cool to see that reflected in the chat, our chat as well. What skills and competencies do you believe are most crucial for community managers in 2025? And are there any differences in that from 2024? And
I
I'll ask
think
that to Jocelyn first.
I think kind of building off of like I think both of us have been talking a lot about AI, which I think everybody was kind of expecting to, because it's kind of like the year of AI. So one of those skills and competencies that people are going to need to have if they don't already have it is how to use AI effectively. Because it's not free or cheap to use AI, even though it's all over the place. There is an impact to using it, and so it's important to know when to best use it because you don't always need it. And then it's also important to figure out and spot how it is currently being used, and then figure out if you need to set guidelines around it. Because, maybe you are running, I don't know what kind of community, like an education community or something, and you're expecting people to have, real authentic answers coming from their own personal experience. But if everyone's answering with like an AI generated one, then it's not actually authentic. And so maybe you need to put guidelines around that. And so that's something to consider and also just to, be aware of. And then kind of to my point earlier too, where community folks will be working more with, customer marketing, customer success, all of those things, it'll only become more and more crucial for community professionals to be able to collaborate well with those cross-functional partners so that they can work towards that, common goal and business priorities. And so you'll really need to understand all the different aspects of a business so you can understand how community and your customers are playing a role in that, especially as your community ideally becomes more embedded in the customer experience. You want to really be able to speak the language of the partners that you're working with.
Yeah, I love that. I love this last point of partners or like stakeholder management. I think that sadly, community leaders have to manage many things that are not necessarily community things. Like we need to, for instance, do deep dives into community data. So we need to be community data fluent. Otherwise, there is no way to prove the impact that our community activities have on the business. Other bit that I feel that is important regarding our skills, on top of soft skills that are like, let's say, how to facilitate properly, how to ask the right questions at the right time, all these bits that are crucial. And probably most of us already kind of have mastered a certain level, at least that's why we are here. But on the other side, that the hard bit, I feel that is even more required. So we should not be just like good humans as community builders. I feel that today we should evolve the role into something also that has enough technical knowledge and technical skills to move forward, because we need leadership skills. We also need to find a way to have a revenue strategy around our whole holistic community plan or community program. So I feel that that's why we need to understand data. We should be, like more smart using using AI mostly as a helper, not to solve problems, mostly to figure out, hey, I have all this data, raw data from my community, let's say actions, interactions on X pages, visits, time on page, and things like that. But how that can help me understand how my community strategy is actually contributing or having a real impact. It's not just like, I would say, operational indicators. No, we need actually business indicators, and we need to learn how to leverage, community data to get there. So I would say, yeah, we need to become a bit nerds, like to be able to prove, with solid, concrete data what we are doing, and also that our initiatives actually have value for the business. That's mostly my take.
That's good. In 2024, the Hivebrite team created what we call the impact framework. And a lot of that was built so that clients would feel comfortable communicating their community's impact, and understanding how they're actually measuring the data behind their community to present to stakeholders. So, as I'm seeing some of that in the chat, like if there are any of our clients here, our impact framework is something that we use for sure. Um, as data fatigue continues growing, what strategies do you think will be helpful in 2025 to avoid burnout? I know I felt like January was 12 months long. So, how are we avoiding burnout in 2025?
I was not, I will cover this in both sides. What if
Okay.
also all members are getting burnout? Because there's so
Yeah.
much content everywhere. And we are also like going back to our lab to generate more content for them that we want for them to enjoy inside our communities. So I would say the co-creation concept, I think that is crucial at this stage. We should not just like use, today I did a post about this idea, but it's not about just being a broadcaster as community heads or directors or whatever role we have. It's not that we are just broadcasting. We just need to actually ask for input back from
Yeah.
members to be able to leverage content that they really are interested in or they are really looking for to solve issues or challenges that they have. And then also keep in mind that asynchronous is fine. Like if you share something, a resource, anything, don't get stressed out because you don't see a comment in the next 10 minutes, right? They remember that async actually works, and actually people prefer many times to go in that way. I feel that also that having that mindset can also reduce our stress regarding the expectation of engagement and the things should be instant or similar. And the other bit is that we should also aim for like community-driven conversation, not just announcements. Hey, we have this for new. Hey, we have shipped this and that. Yeah, but no, always include ways to collect feedback right away. But is this helpful for you? How you are planning to implement this? How are you planning to apply, this concept? I feel that asking right away, for what's your take and how this will be helpful for you can also help members feel like actually involved in the content that we are sharing with them as a way to reduce the overall stress regarding the content and bombarding and all that. Yes, that's my maybe feeling.
So good. Jocelyn, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, if you're building a community, but you're just broadcasting, you're not really building a community. You're just, speaking to an audience. And I think to Andre's point also in the chat, like it is about providing a lot of value, real value. And what value means really depends on your community member. And so a big part of being able to maintain like genuine member engagement, and preventing community burnout for both you and your members, is understanding like what that value looks like. What is the purpose of your community? Why did they join in the first place? And what keeps them coming back? And really being dialed in on that is really important, and understanding that that can change. And that's okay. Like the value and your members, like people aren't stagnant. These are people. And so things change, and it's important to stay dialed in on that month to month or quarter to quarter, year to year, whatever that cadence looks like for you. It really depends on the industry or the community that you're working with. And so it's really important to understand like what makes your community unique, and why people should participate in your specific community. So, in tech, people talk about product market fit all the time, but for communities, there's also community member fit. Like both
Mhm.
Francisco and I run and, build communities for community professionals, but they have different lenses, they have different value. And there are some people in both of them. There's some people in one of them, there's some people in
Yeah.
the other one. So there's people not in either, and that's all totally fine. It's like when you go shopping for like a phone or whatever. Different things are good for different people, and you don't have to be everything for everyone, but you do have to understand what is that value that you're providing and gets people to come back and really focus on that and talk to your members to understand. Like, always, if you don't know what people want, just ask them because people actually can speak back.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Andre, one of our members in the chat is on fire today.
Yeah, yeah. I'm surprised. So many, so many.
Yeah,
Yes.
so good. Andre was saying value is benefit minus cost, which totally goes in alignment with what you were saying, Jocelyn and Francisco as well. So thank you for sharing that. It's really cool. With the rise of micro communities and niche platforms, what do you think will define successful community segmentation and personalization strategies in 2025?
Um, I have a few ideas.
Okay.
One is segmentation should be done by value, not only demographics.
Mm,
An example, no, instead of just segment, no, community members by country, why if we do by, imagine we have a community serving or helping marketers, no? So we want to, instead of segment marketers from US, UK, or any other countries, why if we, for instance, segment them or personalize the content and the messages for them regarding early stage marketers, senior marketers,
mm,
or community-led marketers, right? This, I feel that the community content should reach a level of personalization, based on this, like the value rather than demographics. That's one.
mm,
The second one is similar. We can apply the same principle when it comes to onboarding path. Let's say, why if at the beginning of your onboarding flow, you ask the right questions? So then the next step is based on the information that you have from this member, rather than a generic series of 10 emails or 7 emails plus 4 or 5 DMs that you send to everyone the same, right?
mm.
You should be able to, at the beginning, that also put a challenge on the tech side, right? Like a platform should be able to ask the right questions at the beginning during registration. So then the next step, once they are logged in, they can actually go through the right onboarding path. But I feel that that level of personalization can also create a tight-knit experience.
Totally. Jocelyn, anything for you on that one?
Yeah, definitely. Like if you're sending the same email to everybody, it's not really personalized.
Yeah.
Just changing, adding, the percent first name is a great place to start, but really being able to adjust the content and the experience you're providing people is like true personalization. And then there
Mm,
are so many ways with technology and automation and AI where you can do all of that, where it's ideally not a huge, huge lift. But I also think that one way you can personalize and provide more niche experiences is by having those micro communities. So you
mm,
don't have to have a community with tens and thousands of people. You can have one with, a couple hundred. Like people are so complicated. There's so many different aspects that make up, their identity. Francisco talked about kind of some of the different ways in which one marketer can be, come from all these different lenses. But even just like as a human, you are coming from different places. You have a different background, you have a different experience, and you can marry all of those things and come up with all of these different intersections and interests that can result in a variety of micro communities. And so if we just, use community, for example, it could be, location based, it could be seniority based, it could be both. It could be like
mhm.
gaming community members or community professionals. It could be all of these different things. And the hard part really is figuring out of all of these different intersections and all of these different identities, which ones do people care about and which ones do they identify with? Because they could all be I don't know, plant lovers, but if they don't care about the intersection of loving plants and marketing, then they won't join, even though that's technically like a niche community or a micro
Yeah,
community. You have to find the intersection that actually resonates with folks. And so it's kind of it's helpful when you are a part of that group and you can know like, oh, you know, my friends are whatever, like really interested in, you know, assembling puzzles of plants or something like that because I know hundreds of people who already do that. Then you could build a community around that. But then it's also just doing a lot of user research to understand like, okay, I want to build a community around marketers. Where are these people? What do they care about and whatnot?
yeah,
So yeah, definitely, it goes back to that people part, really understanding your people and then the value that they want.
Love it.
absolutely.
I have one thought after listening this from Jocelyn. Also, I feel that the engagement of members should be also under their control. Let's say
Mm,
maybe they should not receive daily notifications or weekly notifications or the weekly kind of digest unless they have opted in. So also the engagement should be personalized and they should be able to decide what they want to opt in now regarding community updates and all that. And the other
mm,
bit that I feel that can be also customized or personalized is the member journey. For instance, someone joins as a learner, but then after sometimes interacting in the community, learning, contributing, that person has evolved and grown into maybe a contributor, and maybe they
mm,
can also become a leader afterwards. But also we should be able to figure out a way to detect when this member has evolved to a different stage.
mm,
No, it's not that easy, but that could also uh, have a huge impact in how much they want keep contributing even more. That hey, we notice
yeah,
that you are very thoughtful with your answers, with your responses. So we can maybe, if we have a gamification way, we should also attribute that so we can actually have a tracking way to measure this journey, how our members are evolving. I feel that if we can keep an eye on that, personalized, that could be even better. Yeah.
totally. I think that's one of the few ways that I love employing or like deploying badges because you're able to see what kinds of things users are actually doing on the platform. Maybe they're just downloading things and that may be okay, but there can be different badges that show what that user's most passionate about, but also gives them some level of, oh, I received this thing, just to say like they're part of the community and participating in a certain aspect, which is kind of cool. So, awesome. Um, Last question here, and then I may turn it over to the chat. I know we've got plenty of questions in the Q&A. With AI, we talked a little bit about it at earlier, but with it becoming increasingly more sophisticated, how do you envision the balance between the automated piece and our human-driven community engagement and community? What do you think should be intrinsically, distinctly human?
Mm, mm, I feel that I mean, if you put an example, a scenario, probably it's easier to get a take on this. But let's say a customer support community. Now, I would say whatever question is very well, AI is reading kind of everything. So whatever question is related to product that has a help article, no, AI should jump in and help right away.
Mm,
Like that is like kind of the smart way to use AI to leverage AI. But then well, even I have seen this good practice in a few communities using AI to kind of jump as bots and say, hey, no, you're looking help about this topic. And we have a few articles in our knowledge base about this and that. And then they are quoting the links to the articles. But in case that this is not helpful, and what the AI does, it tags the community manager. No, it tags
mm,
the community manager. Say, hey, but Jocelyn anyway will be around if this is not helpful for you. So I feel that that is a balance where you actually get help from AI because the community manager is sleeping or maybe drinking coffee, right? But then, right, the community manager first is aware that something happened, no, and then that also if in case the member can reply and ask for further assistance. So I feel that that is one small example of balance, how much the human can still be fully present while AI is giving a hand. An example, for instance.
it's a good example for sure. Jocelyn, what
Yeah,
about you?
I feel like it really depends on what the goal of your community and the purpose of your community is. So, for example, with the community, who is actually in the community is a really important aspect of TCC. And so deciding who can join the community needs to be human because that's such a
Mm.
big part of it. I don't think it makes sense to leave that up to AI. Versus if you have a community where anybody, any customer, or anybody related to the topic can join, then like automate that, make it easy. But if that piece of it, like it is for us, like who's a part of it is really important, then you want a person actually reviewing the application, reading through all of the things and deciding who comes in. And that's not to say our entire onboarding or recruitment process is, entirely manual. We do automate things like, you can use Zaps or whatever to send out the emails or Slack invites or whatever. But the actual review process itself is human because who is in TCC is such a vital part of what TCC is. And then I think some of the other things I think we mentioned at the beginning of the call is, using it to, do recaps, to what's it called? Find like really great quotes because who wants to go through a 1 hour long transcript when you could ask
Mhm.
AI to do it? And I think it's one of those things where you can use AI as a supporting person, just like maybe a junior team member or like an intern or something where it's things that are a little bit more manual, a little bit more tedious. And so it saves a lot of time when you can just, prompt somebody to do it, but you're still going in and checking again to see what their work is. So it's not just, letting them loose on LinkedIn or Twitter to post those quotes. It's looking at it again and making sure like, oh, actually, yes, I agree. After hosting this webinar, I think that was a crucial point that I want to then reshare. They spelled everybody's names right. Let's actually post it instead of like having it be, free. And so I do think there is an aspect of whenever you're working on something, you can start and end human so that there's always those checks and balances essentially. But in general, too, my philosophy with all automation is like do it all manually first so you at least understand what's going on, what you're doing, what it's supposed to look like, what it's supposed to feel like, where there could be downfalls, and then figure out what parts need to be streamlined and automated. What was really tedious for you? What made no sense for you to do over and over again? So, for example, speaking about an onboarding process, if you're sending the same hello message on Slack or via DM to the new people every single time, and you spend an hour on this every day, and you're just copying and pasting, let's figure out how to automate that because it's a waste of everybody's time. And you're sending the same thing. Like it doesn't, you already did the human part, you wrote it, and you're going to reply when they reply to you. But the actual sending of that message, you could figure out how to automate. And so I think it's really understanding the bits and pieces of your work to figure out what can be automated because it doesn't have to be the whole thing. It can be parts of it that make your life easier.
Nice. A nice tip for this automated hello is to say, what I do at the very top, I put, hey, I know this is an automated message, but that doesn't mean it's not crafted with love for you. And then the message. So at least you kind of put it a bit more soft, right? So yeah, but it's true. Like Jocelyn is totally right on that. Yes.
I'm taking
I
so many
was looking at the
notes.
questions. Sorry, I was looking at the questions.
Totally okay. Yeah, it's not a rabbit hole, so to speak, but it connects back to some of these questions people have been asking. When you guys are talking about building community and making sure that it's the value that your members want, are there any kinds of ways you're surveying users? And if so, how frequently are you getting that feedback loop to understand, yes, they want this, or maybe no, they don't?
Uh, um, I have some thoughts. We recently, almost 3.5 months ago, we moved led by community off Slack.
Mm.
So we migrated off Slack. Uh, and no, I wanted to start planning our events calendar for 2025. So what I did, no, I use AI in this case. I say, hey, what are 50 potential topics, no, for community builders that we could kind of have events about? So I got my nice list, 50, I created using a platform for surveys, any works. I use Question Scout in my case. So I uploaded all the options. People could do multiple selection. And then I send that even up to my newsletter subscribers, because we have 5,000 subscribers in our newsletter. So I could have a broader sample of the real interest regarding certain topics, plus separate survey for community members. So in that way, I could easily get a rank of 25 topics from the list. And then you know what happened? I was started to book. We have a series named Talks and Pros as part of Led by Community online events for learning events. And for instance, our friend Brian Oblinger, also Erica Cool, that are part of the program for this year, they say, hey, have you surveyed recently your members? And maybe we can see the list of topics that they kind of voted the most. So then I took a screenshot, shared with them, and they selected from the list. So that was like totally feedback-based topics for the content of the community. So I feel that that is like a good kind of way to get the pulse on what people are needing. And what we do is one per quarter. We try to run a survey regarding that. And the second bit is we establish like a community advisory board. That is where we kind of go through all our initiatives. Also all the topics and things that we have selected, we get kind of a second layer of feedback to say, hey, you should prioritize this and that. So these two elements, like survey-wise, and then the community advisory board that are volunteers, part of Led by Community, 9 people today, they also share insights on what we could prioritize based on already members' feedback. So that is helping me lots to know what to do, what to go next. Also, which type of professionals we should invite to our events. Mostly hope that helps there.
Yeah, we also for TCC run surveys quarterly. And it's a mix of asking folks, kind of like what Francisco said, like, what do you want to see in terms of programming and events? What are you interested in? And then there's also a set of baseline questions that we always ask so that we can track the trend over time and understand how folks are liking it, finding value, whatnot. And then as a leadership team, we review it every quarter. We also share out the results to the community every quarter. And then, we'll add questions on if we need to, if there's like an in-person event coming up or we tried something new and we want to see what they're doing. And so my general philosophy is to share community surveys on a regular cadence, whether that's quarterly, every half, once a year. Somebody mentioned they work in decentralized communities. I assume that's crypto. You might want to do monthly because things change so quickly in the crypto space. So it really depends on who your community members are, how quickly things are changing, and then do your survey cadence based on that. And then I always do half of the questions roughly are consistent. So, understanding, are you providing value, or, NPS, whatever it is that you care about. And then the other half, sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. And it's more around what's new, what's changing. If you're going to migrate platforms, maybe it's asking people what they really like. If you're starting a new event series, maybe it's asking them what they care about, or maybe you just migrated and it's understanding if they liked it or not. And so there's always a little bit of flexibility in terms of what your survey questions are actually about.
Okay.
Great.
That's awesome. Guys, we have so many good questions in the chat, so I'm actually going to turn things over there. But before I start, I just want to highlight some of the things we're getting in the chat. So Catherine Comden says, one thing that upped our engagement was posting less. It became less of a broadcast and more of an opportunity for the users, the actual users, to post. So love that, love that, love that. Thank you for sharing. And there are just a ton of thanks. So Carrie Lippert says, thanks, so many good ideas. I have just been jotting things down on the
I
side.
saw
You
a
guys
few
are
LinkedIn.
amazing.
I saw a few LinkedIn links. I'm also like connecting with people, so excellent. I
Yeah.
was already connected with a few already, so.
Yeah, do drop your LinkedIns if needed, but please do stick around. We're still answering questions. So I'm going to turn it over to the chat now. If there are any questions you guys have, please do drop them in the chat. We're going to start answering them. So first thing here, I want to kind of get back to AI because this is still really huge for everyone. Mark Knott says, given the impact it will have in our lives, do you think we have a responsibility to educate our community members on AI, like the good and the bad, the ugly, so to speak? Jocelyn, I'll pass it to you really quick, and then I'll let Francisco take up the lower part.
Um, I think sorry to say, but I think it depends. I think it really
Yeah.
depends on how, I guess, you want to talk about it and the purpose of your community. Like if you're running a technology community or you're talking about like the latest technologies or politics or all of those things or even environmental impacts, then like, yeah, I think it makes sense to talk about AI and how that impacts all of those different areas. If you have a community about like getting your small business set up, maybe talking about AI in relation to that makes a lot of sense, but it may not necessarily make sense to spend a lot of time creating content and educating folks about the good and the bad of AI in general. Because at the end of the day, you do have to come back to why are they here? What is this community for? And if it's not about AI and you're only talking about AI and the good and bad about AI, they're gonna leave. Like they're not here for that. And so there is some level of like you could be responsible. I don't know if responsible is the right word. You could provide education around the intersection of AI and whatever your community is for. And my guess is those conversations have naturally come up, whether you're responsible for teaching everybody how AI works in general, how to use it, and all the different tools that come with it and the repercussions of it. Personally, I don't think so, because if you take it like that, you're like kind of responsible for teaching everybody everything, which is impossible.
We are not fathers, mothers. Yeah, I think that on the AI bit, in our case, we just created guidelines as a way to just have at least a level of safeguard. No, in our case, is someone, because sometimes someone wants to post maybe a long form thing, and no, if it was half baked with AI or not, we just encourage members to disclose that this was done. Also, there is one of the projects that we run is named the community experience, where I generate videos of kind of AI stakeholders that are looking to build X type of community. I also put that, no, I am disclosing, hey, this AI video was done. No, so I feel that it's mostly just to keep the community safe and the feeling of transparency, that it's good to have certain guidelines in place. I shared the link in the chat for people reference of how our guidelines work, but it's very lean. It's mostly about being transparent, have ethical use for AI, encourage collaboration rather than like a single person protagonism. No, it's more like keep things safe. That's the main goal. No, not teach how to use it or not use it. Yes.
Absolutely. Question about lurkers, which we in the community space call learners. What are some tips you have about bringing members into conversation? This user says they have a lot of learners and a few who are actually posting. So how can you help them be active, or should you help them be active?
Go? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
These are challenges I faced every month, every week. So,
Yeah.
especially since we moved off Slack, the beginning was
Mm,
kind of, we started in a blank slate, no? So it was like, what we do? And then I started off like to move things around in the discussion section, etc. But then we say, let's go back to like ancient times. And what we did, we started to invite DM one by one 10 members per week, like just like sharing with them a personal invite to ask anything via DM.
mm,
Now, so we created a whole list in a spreadsheet, very hands-on manual work, 300 people, well, 350, and we started, like 1 week, these 10 people are the winners of the invite to participate. Next week, 10 more. Yeah, it's a big one, I know, but it's working. Like, like
mm,
people realize, oh, it's true. Like we have 350 brains here. It's like, well, Rosie Cherry started to also ask and talk about the community intelligence, how much community intelligence is available. And if you don't ask the questions, we are missing out big. Now, so in our case, we went in the very manual work. No, it's not scalable, but we care for our community, so we are just doing it. And the other bit, that second tool that is helping us lots, is get the community used to a weekly poll that is happening every day at the same time being posted.
Mm.
So we have on Monday, every Monday, a weekly poll, no matter what is there. And that is helping us also to generate spark and spark more conversations. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Francisco. At the beginning, when you're starting a community, or once you've migrated, or something major has changed, or even if you're just seeing like all of a sudden it's dead, you do have to go back to that manual piece. You do have to invite people. Like it's definitely not you build it and people will come. That's like not what you should expect. It's you build it, you walk people to the door, tell them where the good conversations are, or like introduce them to people, and then it'll come. And so there is that manual piece of personally inviting people to speak. And sometimes it's, inviting them to, start a conversation or ask a question. Other times it's posting a prompt and then, DMing people to respond if you're seeing a lot of questions asked, but no one answering. And then I think it was Catherine, who said that like sometimes you just have to post less. You got to let the community breathe a little bit and let them actually have an opportunity to speak. I think also as community manager, sometimes you see a question posted and you're like, I know the answer, let me respond, especially if you care about response times. But like if you respond too quickly, no community member has a chance to respond. And now you've kind of trained people that it's kind of a place where you'll respond to everything instead of a place where people are actually discussing. And so let things breathe and see what's happening, and also figure out, is it nobody's posting at all? Is it if people are posting questions and nobody's answering them? Or is it nobody's responding to your posts, or nobody RSVPing to events? Like what part of engagement is actually lacking? And then trying to figure out how to tackle those things. And one of my favorite community consultants, although she's working full time now, but Noelle Flowers also has a ton of really great resources around community engagement and like, kind of treating it like a party and an engagement ladder and things like that. So definitely check out her work. She's done a lot around how to build out great content to engage community members.
Absolutely. We definitely refer to community as a house party at Hivebrite. And I think, not every person at the party is going to be loud and crazy and excited. And I think it was Noel Flowers, right? Jocelyn, someone's asking what was her name. Yeah.
Well,
So it's important to kind of honor the different journeys that your users may be on in the community. And some of them will post excessively and some of them may not. And that's okay. So. Jules Thomas asks, how important is an app for community engagement? It's a big question.
yeah, I feel that it's lots. It's improved experience lots. Even though you don't want to spam people, but no, that helps them to stay in the loop and also sometimes on the go. That's why people love Slack, because the app is so good, right? But other community platforms, even a Hivebrite, they also have solutions, mobile apps and things like that people and communities can use to empower users. But I feel that it's a big advantage. No, it's not most of the times. It's not the very affordable side of things to implement for a community, but still, I 100% agree that it's a big value. So, for instance, we just launched last Friday this new project, Community Week, and we are actually launching mobile apps next week because of the same reason, because we feel that it's really valuable to be on the go, to join events whenever you are, wherever you are, sorry, at any time. No, and also if someone wants to chat with you and you have time, go for it. No need to like wait someday to reach the computer and start doing it. So I feel that a few opportunities can be missed if there is no mobile app. It's not like crazy mandatory, but I feel that it had some value to the overall engagement.
Yeah, my answer again is it depends, because not every type of community needs an app. So for things where it's like a running community or people's, I don't know, gardening or whatever, like a personal interest, I think having an app makes a lot of sense because they're participating in their free time. But if you're building community for like a B2B SaaS company, and you're building it for, employees of a business where data and security is extremely important, the odds of them being able to log on to an app are slim to none. because you're going to need SSO, you're going to need all of these different things. And so having an app and putting times towards that is unnecessary because they aren't logging in to anything work related on their phone unless they have a work phone. And the odds of them doing that are fairly slim. It's probably just on their, desktop where all the security stuff has already been vetted and, IT is good with
Great.
it. And so really think about who are you building for? Because there is no like, you have to have an app, you have to do this or you have to do that. You really always have to think about who are you building for? Where are they going? And when will they want to be there?
Great.
Another question in the chat here from Debbie Bird. Always good to see you. Do you think that public communities will see a drop in activity compared to private communities? So I'm wondering if this is relating to just creating safer kind of micro community spaces.
Mm, I don't think so. I mean, Reddit is still huge. And I feel like Reddit is only becoming more and more popular. And that's one of the biggest public community spaces right now. And especially as Google search pulls up more Reddit threads in the search results, I feel like you'll see more and more there. And at the end of the day, public communities are the easiest to find. And sometimes private communities are, it's hard to get into. You can't always see what's going on. Some of them are paid. And so there are always these walls or barriers that prevent folks from joining and participating in certain private communities. So I don't necessarily think that public communities will like die out or necessarily drop, but I'm not certain. Like I've never actually seen a research study or anything that compares like one public community to a private one. I think they just kind of serve different purposes. So many of the big public communities are like support forums essentially, like Google and Facebook and all of those massive, and Apple, like they have massive forums. And I don't think we'll see a drop there necessarily because people will continue going there to ask support questions. So yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
And definitely. Francisco, anything on that before we go to another question?
I think that's
Anything
good. No, is it
Okay.
all good? Yes.
Good. All right. From an anonymous attendee, how would you recommend building community with groups of people who don't naturally seek it? Such as, they're giving the example, deep tech founders who are more insular. We'd love to see more activity on our platform. And I think I'd actually like to respond to this one a little bit. What I see, or what we certainly see with STEM-based communities, there is kind of a lag or just somewhat of some inactivity. But that's something that I'm commonly seeing, just maybe with more tech-based communities, or especially tech leaders or leaders in general who are kind of maxed out in terms of what they can provide to a community space. So we often recommend making sure you survey those users first to make sure you understand what they need, what they're wanting in the community space. Okay. Jocelyn, it looked like you were about to say something there as well.
Yeah, I think one thing you have to go back to is you want to build community for them, but do they want it?
Mhm.
Like community is about the people at the end of the day, and it sounds like this is your job, and so it's a little harder to be like, no, let's not do community versus if you're kind of doing it on your own. But community is about the people, it's not about the platform that you're on. So consider all the different ways in which you can still engage those people in ways that they want. So I think to Megan's point, like have you talked to them and ask them what about the community is interesting? What do they want to talk about? In what ways do they want to engage? Because a community doesn't have to be just a forum with discussions or a Slack with, chat. It could be mastermind groups. It could be in-person chapters. It could be hackathons. It could be anything necessary, like where you're just, connecting a group of people. And so you need to talk to those people and see where they actually do want to spend their time and ask them what gets them excited, like what do they think is missing from their industry at large, like what do they want to do. Maybe they want dinners, maybe they want hackathons, maybe they just want like a double or whatever, and you just like sit around and code at the same time. It could be a lot of different things. And I think sometimes as, community people, you might be more interested in, talking to people asynchronously because that's kind of our job, being online all the time. But not everyone's like that. And so you do have to talk to these people and understand like what are they like and what do they want to do, and then kind of provide that for them. Because like you said, you're trying to build community with these people. So got to do that with part and really understand what it is that they want. Because if what you're trying isn't working now, maybe that's not the answer, but that's also okay. Like don't double down on something that's not working. Figure out what's next and pivot.
Yeah, beautiful. I have a friend that works for the company named Persona. His name is Ed Giansante. He has built a very exciting community for founders just by running dinners for them. So he did the work at the beginning, as Jocelyn mentioned, and started to ask exactly, hey, you are busy during the day, but you are still looking for connection to learn from others, like others in similar race, even racing stage and all that. So he started this founders dinners. Even then, like we talk about today about personalization and segmentation, he started to segment the dinners by staging of the race. Series A dinner, Series B dinner. So in that way, when the people in the room is the same challenges and the same level of busyness as you, so I feel that he has done a great job on that side because he did the work asking. But we can see that actually, like trying to learn what they need or what they want works. Now he has done the work. So yeah, it's an example that works. No?
One final question. So, what have you defined as success in your community in 2025, and how are you sharing it?
Mhm.
Um, For TCC, for us, what matters is whether or not members are getting value. And for us, value is whatever the member wants it to be. So if they think they're getting value, that's good enough for us. And I will caveat that by saying TCC is not a business, and so we don't have like OKRs or anything. And so this may not fly if you are, building community and you have an OKR, because it is kind of wishy-washy. But for the community, we ask quarterly, are you getting value out of the community? And people say yes or no, and they select the things in which they feel like they are getting value out of. And we do also look at our NPS score. I have mixed feelings about NPS in general, but that is a score, NPS CSAT that folks typically look at. And so those are things that we typically look at TCC. In the past, in terms of determining success, I've looked at some other things. And so when I ran a program for, super users, retention was a big deal because our main goal of having that program was, loyalty to the brand. And so, keeping the folks who've been using our platform for 10 plus years, continuing to use our platform for the next decade was a key success metric. I've also looked at contribution. So how much are community members not posting in the community, but participating in the actual product and sharing things there. And so all of these success metrics, though, go back to why you're building this community and what the business value of the community is providing, and then agreeing upon a metric that you are ideally moving positively.
Yeah,
Nice.
makes sense. I think that if you based on the goals of the business, if the community is tied to a business, usually the business has goals, and the community should find a way to support them. No, so if these goals are met or achieved, I would say that is part of the success. And then for your, lovely community builder heart, you can, as Jocelyn mentioned, run. Even I heard, from Rebecca Marshburn, like 2 years ago, the concept of community promoter score rather than just net. No, so you could run your survey to understand your community promoter score, what is the feedback from your members, so you can keep the human side improving and iterating as well. But sadly, I would say when it's a business-led community purpose, you should aim to crush those numbers so you can get resources for next year, maybe you can grow your team and you can keep building up. But yes, probably try to just map and met the business goal. Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. Well, everyone, just looking at the clock, and I think this is almost the end of our session today. So I want to thank
Love it.
all of you who are still here, who made it to the end. Thank you for being with us today. But also, Jocelyn, Francisco, thank you so much for all of your insights. I've been writing them down since you started talking. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Is there any way or anywhere you'd like for us to connect with you after this? How can people stay in contact or learn about what you're doing?
Ladies first.
You can find me on LinkedIn. Just look up my name. And if you've been doing community for a couple of years now and consider yourself a senior community professional, you can look up the community. I can also share the link in the chat.
Nice. Well, in our site, led by community, we call it for now professional network for community builders. We have from all stages professionals there. And mostly, we are focused on helping them advance their career. We have a job board. We have a weekly newsletter. We have also a membership part of led by community. So I'm sharing the link there. Anyone can explore the idea. And also, as I mentioned before earlier, we just launched the Community Week. That is an online summit, free. Anyone can join. They have, and also keep learning. We have Carrie Melissa Jones invited, Ryan Oblinger, Richard Millington, Erica Cool. We have Esther Trapadox from Amplitude also invited. So very, very exciting grid. So we are going to learn a ton. You are all invited. Yeah, thank you for having me today. I'm really pumped. And also I learned lots from Jocelyn. So Jocelyn, you're doing great. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Francisco.
Awesome. To our audience, we will be sharing a recording of this webinar. Our next best encouragement to you is if you could take a minute to give us your feedback on today's webinar. There is a link in the chat. Kat has just dropped it. So be sure that you fill out that survey and let us know how we're doing. Outside of that, thank you all for joining. Have a great day. Have a great week. And we'll see you soon.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye-bye.